This podcast is supported by patrons. You can find a full list of them in the description of this episode. Hello, listeners of Good Morning BSS World podcast. This is Wiktor, Doktor, calling to you from Poland, and today I am connecting with Georgia, and especially with the capital of this country, which is Tbilisi. My guest today is Ketevani from the company IBCC Tax. Hi, Ketevani, how are you?
Thank you, Wiktor. How are you?
I am doing very well. Tell us a little bit about your company and your role within this business.
IBCCS Georgia is already operating in Georgia already 3 or 4 years, and we are doing business, and we are helping businesses in administrative, in taxation, in financial and legal topics. So we cover everything what business might need. Our clients are from different fields, from different industries like IT development, construction, hotel, resorts, restaurants, and even some gas and oil industries. So we cover different fields because our company has raised a lot during past years, and our fields of service are also increasing. Our main mission and idea is to help local businesses and also to help foreign businesses to relocate in Georgia, because they have very good, will have tax benefits, and not only other financial and social benefits, which maybe we will talk later after this.
You mentioned a very, very important area, which are taxes, and this is one of the main points which we are actually going to cover today. So, undiscover us a little bit stories about what kind of taxes we can expect in Georgia. What can we expect there?
Yeah, as I'm the head of the tax division of the company, we are handling all of the tax issues of the clients. So in Georgia, tax is very simple, I would say, because the government worked a lot to simplify the administration part and also the legislation part. We have only 6 taxes, like corporate income tax, personal income tax, VAT, excise, and property tax, and export. Okay, we will not cover this part here. However, we have some general rules for standard companies, but we have perfect exemptions for many different types, and I will cover all of them because this is very interesting and very important for modern technological companies, and especially if they have connection with foreign businesses. Because when foreign businesses establish their companies in Georgia, they have perfect opportunity to maximally reduce and be exempted from local taxes. Legally, there will not be any offshore or any other complicated part of the taxation, and they will just simply legally pay very few of taxes. Okay, I will just to introduce about general part, which is and general tax rates, which is still lower compared to other countries, especially European countries and developed countries. Okay, we have, for example, personal income tax for employees, and for other physical persons only 20%. Nevertheless, the income, so they are not increasing if physical persons income is increasing. Also, our corporate income tax is 15%, but this is very beautiful, but because no one will pay it unless they distribute dividend. So it means that if companies want to reinvest the profit in the company, they want to spend it for company purpose and increase the business, they are free of charge, so they will not pay any taxes. They will pay only corporate income tax 15% and 5% only in case when they distribute dividends to the physical persons. So you can postpone your payable after 2, 5 months, or maybe 5 years, or maybe ever, if you are increasing your business. Also, we have VAT for foreign services because of our association with you. We companies making doing business from Georgia to foreign countries, business entities. They are also exempted from VAT as well. This is a very short overview, but I want to introduce more benefits about Georgian taxation system to our people who are watching us. So one is, I mentioned that corporate profit tax is 15% general when they distribute dividend, but there is other exemptions, especially for technological companies, IT companies, even customer support who are dealing with a more or less IT field. If they are shareholders, so if foreign company will establish a company in Georgia with at least 50%, and their experience is more than 2 years I mean, it should be existing technological company, and they want to have another branch or totally relocate in Georgia. They have very good condition they will have for this. It means that they will pay only 5% of personal income tax for employees instead of 20, because I mentioned so 5% for their employees instead of 20. This is perfect condition. Officially, this company should pay 5% for corporate income tax, but because of other additional rules for this type of companies, I mean for IT international companies, this is a special status and a special license which they need to get, and it's not very difficult if you are complying with the requirements. You will deduct some costs, and finally you even will not pay any corporate income tax. So finally, in the end, it will be 0%, maybe 1%, so depends on your cost of local costs. And also no property tax for this taxation, and of course, because service should be rendered to the foreign company, in this case no VAT as well. So I will elaborate more. So if a foreign company decides to establish a Georgian entity, doesn't matter it's a branch, I mean they're only one branch or just whole companies located in Georgia, they have the customers are foreign companies, not Georgian companies. Mostly they render service to foreign companies, and they have the team in Georgia who is working from Georgia. Located in Georgia, it means that they will be in compliance with the requirements of the status, international company status, and then they will enjoy with all benefits I mentioned. So it's 5% of employment tax, personal income tax it's called, and almost 0% of corporate income tax, no dividend tax, I skipped it, so I will add it. So, and almost no property tax, for example, if they have fixed assets in Georgia. And voila, you are almost tax-free with only 5% of taxation, and you have completely legal backgrounds. You have perfect country for your employees. You can have bank transfers. You can do easily everything. So this is a very good condition. It already exists. Such kind of requirements exists around 2 or 3 years, or since 2020, I guess. And this kind of business can be done only. This type of exemptions can be granted to IT company business with IT development, software development, and other, and also for maritime business. So if people want to make shipment or recruiting and all of the field and business which is related to maritime, then the same conditions will be applied, and almost only 5% for this type of company. So they don't have any limitation for size. This is, I think, important. They don't need any kind of special amount of capital or special amount of investment. So with very minimum investment, very minimum of staff, they can just very easily make an investment and start with almost tax-free business in Georgia in the field.
That's a huge set of information, I must say.
Yeah, thank you. And this is not the all. It's just the beginning, I would say so.
I can imagine that that there is much more. But maybe let's now focus on some calendar of paying taxes. Are there any certain dates or terms when you need as a company to pay taxes?
Very, very good question and very important question. In Georgia, it's a bit sometimes different time frame because we mostly not mostly, we always submit declarations monthly. So we submit all the declarations, it's PIT, personal income tax, property income tax, or VAT declaration. We submit it every month. But sometimes it's because, for example, we don't distribute dividends maybe 2 years, so we don't put anything in the declaration, but the declaration is monthly. Of course, we have some calendar for property tax, which is annual, and also recent regulation for financial statements. It's also annual because we are submitting it also annually. So any other taxes should be submitted monthly. It's personal income tax or any other which I already referred.
When it comes to the VAT, is there only one, let's say, level of the VAT tax, or there are different ones depending on the type of business or a type of product?
Yeah, in Georgia, we have, as I started that it's simple, it should be simple. So we have almost two, I would say it's two type different. It's zero. I mean, there is exemption. There is exemption with the right of deduction. So this both we could come as a zero rate, and we have 18% of VAT. Of course, financial services is not included here and is not taxed, so only 18% if something is not exempted.
Okay. Maybe another question, not necessarily focused on taxes, but on creating a company in Georgia. For that purpose, do we need any local partner who needs to be on board or be a part of an ownership of the company? Or, for example, if the foreign investor comes to Georgia, can set up the business on his own?
Yeah, kindly, yeah. Of course, if you have a local shareholder or director, it's much easier for compliance purposes, but officially it's not a requirement. So any foreigner can come in Georgia and start a business, voila. Because I don't know if you have heard about it, but you can register business in Georgia in a day if you have all the documentation. And you don't need even capital to fill the company in the very moment. So it's very easy to start business.
That's very important, actually, what you have just said. And from the perspective of employees who are being employed within the companies, what kind of taxes are related to employees?
In Georgia, physical persons has almost zero burden of taxation, I would say, in terms of compliance, and because all the companies are liable to submit declarations on behalf of physical persons. So in this case, of course, the payable is on behalf of the physical person, but they are not liable if their employer is or the contractor is a Georgian legal entity. The only case is if they are, for example, employed or contractor of foreign company, they can only submit one declaration a year, so only one declaration, and it's very simple. Since you talked about and since you asked about physical person, maybe I will also continue one very good benefit, because I mentioned that for example, personal income tax is 20%, but we have other exemptions for physical persons. Because including is if they want to be entrepreneurs and they can solely want to do their own business, or maybe they have only 1 or 2 employees for themselves, they have very good opportunity in Georgia to have business almost tax-free. So it's with only 1% of income tax. So if they are doing kind of small business for around up to 200,000 euro, if I convert it in euros, they can have a business, they can receive income, they don't need any bookkeeping, and they just will pay only 1%. This is if they want to have business. But there is another very, very good opportunity for people who want to have income from real estate, and they just want to have kind of passive income, let's say so. So for them, they can just simply register as physical persons, and they rent their apartments. Doesn't matter it's long term or short term. They can only pay 5% for their income, and voila, and they need only to submit this declaration only annually, no monthly liability, and they have everything legally, and they will be compliant with the legislation as well. And they can do online everything, and they don't need to go every time to the tax office.
This what you just said, I think, is very popular in Batumi. Yeah? This is one of the cities in Georgia where there are a lot of apartments which are being owned by physical people, and they are renting it for tourists who are coming. I've been to Batumi a few months ago, and I've seen there are plenty of apartments which are just rented.
Yeah, in Batumi there are some other options as well. If they are buying they have option to re-rent to give it back to the developers, and they even are exempted. The physical person also exempted from even registration. So another option, they will have totally passive income, just guaranteed. Yeah.
Just one question came to my mind. Is there in Georgia any special economy zone or tax-free zone or something like that?
This is a very good question because I was talking about only one part and one field. So we have other options for tax exemptions, especially for corporations and for big industries. We have special trading zones in Georgia, and when you are business in this special field, you can have other benefits, which is of course exemption for corporate income tax, which is about the import tax. So you will not even import of course you will import physically, but you are not liable to pay these import duties for these cases. So there are 4 zones in Georgia. This is created by government, and then when you have when you have business in these places, when you produce some goods, and when you re-export in Georgia from Georgia, then your profit will not be taxed. And also, I want to mention, because I mentioned about export, we have a lot of free trade agreements with many countries, including China, including Europe, and then not other tax duties for trades as well, except the tax part. Yeah.
Okay. Having in mind that there are those zones, let's put them aside a little bit, and now let's take a look on the whole Georgia as it is. From the taxation point of view, are there any differences in taxes depending on the region or between the cities and countryside, or generally the tax rules are the same for the whole country?
Yeah, this is very important question. Except the zones, mostly legislation is the same, equal, including HR as well, even though it's autonomous region. But as I mentioned, we have exemptions for the field, and if the particular field like IT I mentioned, or if there is special zones, because this economic zone are in several different parts of Georgia. So except this, we don't have any particular difference in tax except property tax. So if you have business and if you have very big equipment in particular area, it might be different, but slightly, yeah.
Okay, I think we have covered the most important elements when it comes to the taxes. Of course, the devil lies in details, as we talk in Poland. So there are probably a lot of things which we need to be aware as well. But for the end of our talk, do you have some tips for people who would be interested in fast setting up the business in Georgia from the perspective of taxes, of course?
Of course, before I conclude, I want to add also, because it will be kind of tip from my side as well. We have double tax treaties between 58 countries with 58 countries in the world. So it means that we have the people who will including Poland, of course, and they can benefit with not to be taxed, in Georgia. And also, one more, people and physical persons residing in Georgia, I mean, being tax residents in Georgia, their foreign source income is exempted, which means that if they are, for example, rendering service from Georgia, they are just sitting in Georgia and rendering service any other places, and or they have if, for example, just we need to cut this part. Okay, we have, for example, many exemptions for physical persons as well. If, for example, they are in Georgia, but they have, for example, dividend income or interest income in other country, and they are just benefiting with this in Georgia, their income, this kind of income is, and they are resident of Georgia. This is what I mean. They are exempted from this tax, from the tax of this kind of income. But as for the other tips, I would add that if the companies and if the people, even physical person, want to start a business in Georgia, they can, everything is quite simple and they can also make it themselves, but it's better to contact the proper tax or financial advisor. One of them, they can choose us, IBCCS Georgia, however, they can find others, and they can start from the beginning to duly set up duly and properly set up all the businesses. However, they can go to the public registry hall and they can set up the business. Of course, they can do themselves. They can also try to go to bank to open bank accounts, and then they can enjoy with all the benefits Georgia and Tbilisi or other towns have.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And for the last thing, if somebody wanted to get more information about taxation, so how would they reach you? How would they reach IBCCS Tax?
Thank you for that question. IBCCS Tax, they can simply Google us, they can find our website and they contact information about us. We are accessible and it's very easy to communicate with us. So they can message us on LinkedIn or on Facebook, they can find contact information on the website ibccs.com or ibccs.g, so they can easily catch up us, and then we will be very glad to support them.
So I will make sure to put those links to the description of today's episode. And for today, thank you very much.
Thank you.